Hey, what's up everyone? This is Walter, and we're back here once again with another story from Reddit. It's once again time to talk about neckbeards. Gentlemen who are in this moment euphoric, not because of the blessing of any phony god, but because they are being enlightened by their own intelligence. Hope I got that quote right. Anyway, let's begin with neckbeard stories from Reddit. This story comes to us from Reddit Tales of Neckbeards, which is mostly a dead subreddit, so I wouldn't expect too much more from it. Running into my old neckbeard classmate in the workplace. So this story starts off a few years ago, while I was still in high school, but it reaches its, hopefully, conclusion just last year. It's going to be a bit long, so I'll just get right into it. Back in school, I was quiet and kept to myself. I wasn't one to approach others to make friends, letting others approach me if they so chose. Not many people did, but that was okay. Those that did were typically pretty nice, but it never really sprouted into any friendships. That was until I met Nick in my junior year of high school. Now for a visualizer, I'm Korean, very small, and back then presented as pretty feminine. Long hair, cute glasses, and pretty clothes that conform to a strict dress code. Not quite uniform, it just had to be proper, I guess is the best way to describe it. Nick was average height and build white guy. Shaggy mid-length hair, and wore plain slacks and a polo shirt. I didn't know him prior to junior year at all, so I didn't have the faintest idea of what I was getting into when I let him strike up our first conversation. He was very polite when he introduced himself, so I reciprocated. We mostly talked about the previous year and our goals for the upcoming year. Just normal friendly chit-chat. The next few weeks were just conversations about how classes were going, and how we were adjusting back into a regular schedule. For someone who didn't really have close friendships, it was really nice to have someone I could just talk to about little things. Gradually, we talked more and more about our interests outside of school. We both liked to draw, we liked anime, and we liked the same movies. Sure, he was a little weird, but there was nothing inherently off-putting. Well, I guess he got really comfortable after those first few weeks, and he asked me where I was from. Me, being the idiot I am, answered with the town I was born in, which wasn't the town I lived in. He laughed as if I had told the funniest joke he'd ever heard, and asked, "No, what country?" Oops, my bad. When I told him I was from Korea, he scrunched his nose, and after a moment of silence said, "I guess that's okay." Now this was definitely weird to hear, but I didn't think too much of it. The next few days were uneventful and normal, until he came up to me after class and asked, "What is your ideal type?" I didn't know what this meant, so I asked him to clarify. He huffed and said, "Your ideal type of guy. You're Korean and you don't know what that means?" I was shocked. His tone had an aggressive feel to it, and I didn't like it. I wasn't a confrontational person at the time, so I just opted for an apology. I said I was sorry and that I had never heard a question like that before. He says, "It's a common question over there. What do you mean?" I actually did spend a year in Korea, but I have no idea if this is true or not. I feel like anything this guy says might very well be something he got from an anime. I informed him that while I was born there, I was raised in the Midwest United States by a white family. I knew virtually nothing about the culture or life over there. I was very much an American, just like he was. He seemed very disappointed in that answer, and walked off before I could actually answer his question. The next few days carried on as if nothing happened, so I quickly forgot about the incident. He eventually approached me again and asked me the same question, so I responded this time. Sweet, livelier than me but not over the top, strong. Very basic traits. He hardly let me finish answering before starting on about his own ideal type. Pretty, very feminine, quiet and shy, clingy and loyal. The list got so specific and long that I couldn't keep up until he said what really caught my attention. Japanese women are my ideal woman, but Korean is okay. I didn't know how to respond. Not that he would have even given me time to before going on again. He goes on about how Asian women are submissive and quiet and will do anything to please their husband or boyfriend. How they know their place below their man. When I tried to tell him that was a misinformed stereotype, he cut me off and said, "You wouldn't even know. You were raised by white people." I was so shocked I couldn't even think of how I should respond, so I just walked away from him. He approached me the next day and showed me a photo on his phone of either a Korean singer or actor and asked if I thought he was attractive. I said that I did, and he immediately flew into a rant about how Korean men are abusive and disrespectful to their women, and how they don't deserve beautiful and kind Korean women. This was the same guy who the day before talked about how Asian women know their place below men, and how they're pretty much subservient to them. I told him such a sweeping generalization was incredibly ignorant, but he refused to accept it. I told him I didn't want to hear it and walked away. Now around this time I had started getting close to another classmate from a different class, Caleb, after we were paired up for a class assignment. He was an intimidating looking guy, very tall and already had quite a bit of facial hair for a teen. To top it off, he just looked like he was always mad. He wasn't the type of guy I'd approach on my own, had I not been paired up with him. He was shy and super sweet. A teddy bear built like a brick wall as far as I'm concerned. I adored him in every other way and we quickly caught on with each other. We started dating soon after Nick's rant about Korean men, so it was a good enough excuse for me to start distancing myself. I didn't outright tell him I was with Caleb, and instead told him I was too busy studying to talk online, which wasn't a full lie. Caleb and I usually only ever hung out to study, with a few outings together here and there, a very chill relationship. When he did eventually figure it out for himself, he went on a rant to me on Facebook, complaining that women only ever want abusive assholes and that I've clearly been brainwashed by American dating culture because I didn't choose the right guy that would take care of me, like my culture would have told me to. I don't know where he was getting all these ideas about Asian women from, but it freaked me the hell out. I told him I was done talking to him and to leave me alone. He did for the most part, completely avoiding me in school, but occasionally complaining to me about my relationship online. Eventually, I just blocked him. After that, I didn't really have any issues with him. I didn't really see him much after school, thanks to moving to a nearby town. Fast forward several years, and I've since changed my name and look nothing like I did in high school. So when Nick ended up being hired in at the same job as me, I figured he wouldn't even recognize me. Caleb and I broke up in high school, on good terms, and after a few years, even he didn't recognize me after seeing me about a year or so prior. Well, I was wrong. He approached me the first day he noticed me and said, "Your name is old name, right?" I shook my head and said no and told him my new name. He seemed to accept the answer and walked away. Cool. Bullet dodged. Wrong. He came up to me the next day and asked if we went to school together. Again, I shook my head. He said he could have sworn my name was old name. Again, I told him my name. He shrugged it off and left. Keep in mind, he wasn't even under the same supervisor as me, and had no actual business in my workspace, so I knew he was only approaching me because it was me. He kept trying, even outside of work, whenever he happened to see me running errands. Small town, everyone shops at the same store. He would always address me by my old name and try to talk to me no matter how many times I told him my new name. It is Korean, and that I wasn't interested in talking to him. I swear if he knew how to spell my new name, he would have found my social media accounts and harassed me there too. Eventually I went to my supervisor about the issue, but all he said was that he'll have to talk to Nick's supervisor about it. I never heard anything about it after that. This behavior went on for about 6 months before he was let go, albeit not for the constant harassment. He no longer lives in the same city as me from what I've heard from other coworkers that have spoken with him, so maybe I won't have to deal with him again. So far, so good. Okay, this is all pretty bad. I'm not even sure how being an anime fan could lead to having these kinds of views. Women don't even act like that in anime generally. Now, it was like 15 years ago, so take it with a grain of salt, but I didn't get the feeling from being in Korea that the women were any less assertive than they are here, really. It felt pretty similar. This story was too short to finish a video, but there is someone defending the Neckbeard in the comments for some reason. Not sure why you'd come to a subreddit dedicated to mocking neckbeards, just to play devil's advocate for a really racist one, but yeah, here we are. Did he really do anything besides being a lonely and cringy teenager who watches too much anime? He thought you were his friend, had a crush, and you ditched him for what he thought was a bad boy. You both sound like socially stunted adults. He thought he saw his old friend and said hi. Sure, he could have gotten the hint sooner with you badly lying to him, but that sounds like an attempt to be normal. It doesn't sound like he really went out of his way to talk to you either. Seems like the story of two awkward teenagers. Okay, it definitely was the story of two awkward teenagers, but the awkward just doesn't explain how racist he's being. Imagine just going up to a Korean girl at school with a picture of a Korean guy and asking her if she finds him attractive. That right there would be pretty cringy, let alone the rant that came after it. He made extremely generalized and harmful racial statements about Asian men and women. Is that not wrong to you? I expressed my discomfort in his statements directly to him, and he didn't care to take those statements into consideration. Me distancing myself from him after his insulting and hateful behavior was completely justified. I didn't just ditch him for Caleb. He then harassed the hell out of me online before I blocked him. But he did nothing wrong? Yeah, sure, a weird teenager said something offensive based on watching too much anime. If everyone stopped talking over things that offensive, high schools would be silent. You're not quantifying, and that's not what you said before. You said occasional message, and he avoided you. It sounds like socially awkward boy talks to socially awkward girl daily for a while, probably text/messages quite a bit, and he doesn't fully understand why socially awkward girl abruptly stops talking to him. So he tries to maintain/repair the relationship. You're not quantifying how much adult him tried to talk to you. That's probably why your complaint went nowhere, because he seems the more normal one from your story. It sounds like you were trying to report someone who said hi to you a couple times a month for harassment. You both sound socially stunted. Clearly you're missing something. He made an extremely generalizing and offensive statement about Asian women. When I told him it was an incredibly wrong thing to say, he shut me down and pretty much said that because I was raised by white people that I didn't know what I was talking about. He then came back and made even more horrendous statements about Korean men and got mad when I expressed my discomfort. That behavior and complete lack of fucks given about how much his statements offended me is why I distanced myself. He didn't deserve a real explanation. When he found out about me and Caleb, he blew up on me about it. In no way, shape, or form did he try to fix anything or apologize or anything. He then went on to harass me further online until I finally blocked him. Him watching anime is not an excuse for his outright racial stereotyping and ignorance. Anime is a worldwide and extensive form of media, but not every anime fan acts like that. He was the first and only anime fan I've ever met with that kind of view on Asian women and Korean men. So no, what he said was not an opinion he learned from watching too much anime. I ignored him as an adult because of how uncomfortable he made me by harassing me in school once shit hit the fan. I didn't want him to talk to me or know who I am because I was afraid of the same behavior carrying on. I can't just block him in the real physical world like I could online. After seeing how he blocked any type of correction in school about his offensive views, I wanted nothing to do with him as a bigger and stronger adult. No thanks, I'm not trying to be a hashtag. You sitting here trying to defend him is beyond disgusting. Please get some help. Yeah, that pretty much covers anything I wanted to say about it, I think. Let me know what you think, but I guess that's about all the time I have for you today. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you liked the video, please give it a like. If you have something to say about the story or about my content, let me hear it in the comments. I'll be reading them. If you're new here, consider subscribing for more of the same and whatever else I come up with. Big thanks also to my amazing patrons. I'll be shouting them out by name very soon here. They help me make ends meet. I think my next video might be on my new channel. No guarantees, but I keep trying to start videos for it, so hopefully soon. Have a great day, everyone, even if you're Korean rather than Japanese.